Hello, good morning. I hope you're all well. Welcome to Saturday. It's a very bright Saturday. It's the first day without rain. I think all week. I think it's all week. It's been raining and cold and miserable and grey, which is which is just not like Australia. But it is at this time of year, to be fair, especially in Perth. We do have the seasons here, so we have spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And winter is awful. If I could go somewhere else at this time of year, I would. And even Darwin, I looked on the weather this morning and I think it was 31, 32 degrees. That's perfect for me now. That's where I need to be, not here. However, I have to work, so I'm stuck, really. I do drink lots of tea. So I've got this new diffuser teapot thing, and I'm trying out lots of different organic tea at the moment. I do like green tea. That's the one I drink mainly. Great this time of year. I can't drink too much caffeine though, so I will go through the roof if I do. And I've had plenty of green tea this morning. This one I've got is, I think it's an immune support one or something. I don't know. It's got different roots in it and stuff. It's got licorice in it as well, actually. I don't really like licorice, but it's okay. Yeah, it's good for you. So things that are good for you don't taste all right, do they? Supposedly. Well, so I was told as a kid, anyway. Yeah. But it's all right. Anyway, that keeps me warm. So I'm drinking tons of tea at the moment, more than ever. Hate coffee, loathe it, don't touch it. Tea wise, yeah, I'm a true Brit in that sense. Anyway, today I wanted to talk a little bit about the UK and my old home city of Southampton, which has been in the news recently, as I'm sure you're all aware. Now, I'm obviously talking about the death of Henry Novak, a young student who was murdered by a Sikh gentleman in Southampton. And he was murdered with, I believe, with a ceremonial knife, which legally, I believe, again, they are allowed to carry, which shocks me because how can you legally be allowed to carry such a destructive weapon which can kill? How can you be allowed to do that? Now, I moved to Southampton in 1992 to go to university, and it was my first junket away from home, and I kind of fell in love with the place. Southampton itself is really multicultural, so it's a port city, which makes these places more diverse than others. It's also a university city. It's got two universities there, and so you get international students. You get students from all over the country, and it's got like a hodgepodge of different views. Different ethnicities, very diverse, and it was a great place to go to university. I met my best friend Ramona there, who's from Guyana, and we're still friends today. And I met many, many different people, and I felt safe, I felt secure, I felt at home. When I talk about home, now I was born in Fareham, lived in Fareham, Titchfield, Cassfield, that sort of area, again on the south coast, but I affectionately refer to Southampton as my home because it was. I was there from 92 to 2015, give or take. I did live up north for a bit, and I also lived in Salisbury, but in the main, I lived there. And it's a really, really special place. To see the murder of a young student in that city was quite distressing, because that could have been any one of us as a student. Students are there to learn. They're also there to experience adult life in a very student way. So they would go out, and the clip of him going to the Hobbit, and the Hobbit was very close to where I used to live in Beavers Valley. And it's a real student place. Again, it's a very accepting area. There's, as far as I was aware, I mean, I haven't lived there since, well, for 11 years, but it's a very embracing part of the city. And it shocks me to see someone young murdered. He was murdered by a Sikh gentleman with a ceremonial knife, which, now correct me if I'm wrong, but they are allowed to carry. It's part of their heritage, I guess. And whilst I've got nothing against any minority group at all, I can't fathom why somebody is allowed to carry a ceremonial knife legally. That has to change. What resulted from that death? Now, the death occurred in December 25, I believe. So what was it, 6 months ago, approximately? This week there were riots in Southampton. Now that in itself is unheard of. I've never heard of riots in Southampton at all. I just haven't. I don't think they've ever happened, to be honest. The guy was sentenced. He got 21 years, a minimum of 21 years. And the hope is he's never ever let out because he's a dangerous character. But people took to the streets, and I can't say protested, because a riot in itself is not, it is a protest, but it's not. It's something that's stoked up by organisations with their own political agendas, really. I know, everyone knows what happened to Henry was appalling, was terrible. But the media tends to grab hold of certain incidents and run with it and stoke up this kind of violence. I'm a person who watches GB News. It doesn't necessarily align with my political views, but I enjoy the debate and I enjoy the programs. I enjoy the people on there, and it's a side of me that I don't have living in Australia. When I lived in the UK, I was able to debate, especially with my father, which I still do once a week, once a fortnight. We still have that debate over the phone. But when I lived in the UK, I am a political animal, so I do have those debates. And GB News is great for that confrontational style of politics, which I enjoy. And everyone should be able to debate, to argue, without inciting violence. Now, as a gay man, I would never ever vote for a far right party. Absolutely 100% not. Nigel Farage, Reform. I'm sure he's a lovely guy, but his politics are abhorrent. They are distasteful, they are disgusting, and they would throw Britain back to the Dark Ages. And from what I've seen on the news this week, he's been stirring that pot. shockingly. And I find that reprehensible. A young lad has died. His father said he did not want the sentencing of the guy that killed him as an excuse to cause further division. And what did Farage do? Caused further division. There were people rioting in the streets of Southampton. Again, not too far from where we used to live. We lived in quite a few places in Southampton. And waving the Union flags and causing violence, mayhem. They don't care about the death of a young student. They just care about advancing their own abhorrent views. Southampton isn't like that. It really isn't. I was working yesterday and I was chatting to a customer, and she came in and we were chatting. She was from the UK, and we were chatting about the state of the country. She said it's really not a place I'd want to go back to at the moment. And I just agreed with her. I said, look, everything you hear from the UK is terrible. Whether or not it is, I don't know, because I don't live there. I'm living in Australia. But everything I'm hearing is just awful. And she said, before Brexit, this did not happen. And that is true. I've always said I kind of entered this parallel universe as soon as Brexit occurred. And I've left my true universe, and I'm somewhere completely different because I don't recognise this world anymore. Brexit was the beginning of the end of the country I used to call home. It really was. And it has divided a country that was it was a bastion of truth and respect and looking after the less fortunate, and that people have become nasty. They've become horrible individuals. The reason people come in via boats across the English Channel is because of Brexit. The treaties that were in place to protect the United Kingdom from that no longer exist because of Brexit. Yet the person who instigated Brexit, Nigel Farage, now wants to become Prime Minister. Go figure. There was a poll recently that I saw where the majority of people now would not vote for Brexit and they would like to go back into Europe. Yet the majority of people would vote Reform and have Farage as Prime Minister. Where's the logic? It does not make any sense. It really does not. Why is the death of a young student being used as a political football to create further division in a country that's so bloody divided already? Why? I think as individuals, there's a lot we can do. When I was a student, I was a member of the Anti-Nazi League, and I went on, I think, several demos with my then partner, Martin. And there was there's a really large cemetery at Southampton Common, and there's a big Jewish part of the cemetery. And it had been desecrated by the far right. I guess back then it would have been the National Front. I don't know. And we went up there to protest about what they'd done. And I don't think actually they exist anymore. They're not in the same way. If you know what they're called now, let me know. Um, and we kind of fought for minority rights. I mean, as gay people, we are minorities. We are a minority group. And standing shoulder to shoulder with other minority groups is part of the course. It really is. And we should stand together. And I know not all groups mix well as individuals. And, I've had my run-ins with individuals. But as a rule, we should help one another out. That's what family, friendships, and citizens do, really. And so anyway, we were on this demonstration, and it was something that I remember distinctly because of the different people on that march, all different walks of life, but all with the same aim: to make fascism, to make that style of politics history. 30 odd years later, it's on the rise and even worse than ever. And that is a shocker for me. I look at gay rights going backwards. I look at a time now that is disturbing in its nature, exceedingly so, across the world, not just in the UK. And here I am today living in Australia, where 33% of the population are immigrants, including myself. I'm an immigrant. For some reason, white English people can say they're expats and it feels better. But I'm an immigrant. That's what I am. And we live harmoniously together. Western Australia doesn't have any issues, any problems, any violence. We just don't. There possibly is violence over east. I think gang violence is the major thing over there. But over here, it just doesn't exist. We all get on pretty well, to be honest. And I know lots of different people, all different walks of life, and I don't have any issues. Henry Novak was also a very accepting, loving individual who had friends from many different backgrounds. And violence being caused in the name of someone who championed the rights of others is pretty distasteful in itself. And when I do look at the politics in the UK, which I do love, I see people jumping on bandwagons, and Farage is good at that. He really is. He's good at stoking the violence that causes so many issues. And I find his style of politics repugnant. It's populist politics, very much like Donald Trump in the USA. And I think we all need to reject that. I think if Nigel Farage ever became Prime Minister, I think the world would, well, certainly the UK would no longer exist in the way it does today. It would be gone. It's slowly going now, but it would not be there in the same way anymore. Other countries would reject the UK and its style of politics. But I have a horrible feeling that British people will vote for that individual and his party. Now, I've had a lot of emotions this week over this story, and it's been because it is my old hometown. And I just wanted to say, look, wherever you are in the world, me and Daryl are really well travelled, so we travelled all over. We've seen different cultures. We enjoy different cultures. We enjoy speaking to different people. We have many friends from different cultures. So the people you see demonstrating in the streets in the UK have probably never left the UK, half of them, and or they go to Benidorm for once a week, every year, eat British food, drink British beer, if there's such a thing, and they don't understand the complexities of human life. But wherever you are in the world, please have respect for other people. Yes, it's shocking what happened to Henry. Absolutely. The guy has been sentenced. But don't jump on a bandwagon, as J.D. Vance has done, Vice President USA, talking about immigrants causing those issues. Henry Novak was from immigrant parents, I believe. And do your best as an individual to do what is right, the right thing to do. Just stand up, be counted. Yes, the scenes are shocking. Murder of someone. The police themselves were completely... It was a dereliction of duty. They had the duty of care to look after Henry and give him the first aid that he needed. But they didn't. And they have to answer to that. Only they can do that. But it's not a catalyst for violence. It's just not. Respect Henry's family and respect all families that go through this kind of thing. That sounds so blasé, actually. I'm saying kind of thing. In respect all families that have had to put up with the violence directed towards them, their families. Learn to deal with it in a measured, calm way. Violence doesn't solve anything at all. And I feel myself going off on a tangent because there are so many emotions inside of me. I'm trying to think of the right words to say. And anyone who listens to my vlogs understands that what I'm saying is raw. It's a one take and it's just me talking to you. Any family that's been through the murder of a loved one, even a loved one who's been attacked, understands that you don't need more division. You want healing. You want communities coming together, not drifting further apart. And I think that's what Henry's family were saying. It's quite rambly for me today, but it's because, as I said, there's so much going on up there that I'd like to say, and I have to rein myself in because I can't say it. Fight for what's right. Fight for the things that make you better. Fight for the things that give you courage. Fight for the things that makes you an upstanding individual. But like Henry's dad. Anyway, sorry it's a bit rambly. But as I said, there's been a lot of emotions this week from Southampton, so I do apologise. Murder's horrible. Utterly horrible. And to see it happening in a place where I used to live, in areas that I used to frequent, makes it even more, it brings it even more home, brings it home even more, should I say, sorry. And wherever you are, look after yourself and live your best life, really. And I hope that doesn't sound too patronising, because I don't mean to be patronising. So anyway, yes, live your best life. Take care.